Hey team, welcome back to lesson number 3 of our animal study. In lesson 1, we made a very faint basic outline. In lesson 2, we added faint values to map out the lights and darks. Today, we are going to be taking those next steps. We're going to be adding some directional blending, which is going to fill in any little missing spaces and get rid of any lines we don't like. Then we're going to be adding another layer of value to really darken those shadows. And we are going to be leaving the highlights alone. We're not going to darken those at all. We want them to stay light and bright. So I'm going to grab my tissue and I'm setting my paper up, and I'm just going to take my tissue and I'm going to wrap it around my finger. And once my tissue is wrapped around my finger, I'm going to use it to smear together the marks that I have on my paper. And I'm going to make my marks in the same direction that my pieces of fur, skin, and I'm going to be following the contour of the shapes. So I'm following the contour of the shapes. The next thing I'm going to do is in really detailed areas is I am taking my tissue and I'm folding it up to a neat little point, and I'm going to be blending within specific areas with that tiny point. And this is for detailed areas. And if I mess up and I accidentally blend some of my shadow over into a highlight, I grab my eraser and I sort of dab out the darkness that I accidentally added, and I keep those highlights bright. So now what I've done is I've taken a blank piece of paper and I've created a shield for my hand, and that is going to protect my paper from my hand. And I am going in now and I am adding a layer of value to really darken those shadows. So the blending step was fairly quick. I just tried to keep the blending neat, and I tried to keep each value contained in its area. I didn't want to smear the dark areas into the light areas. So I controlled that by using either my finger or a piece of tissue paper, or a piece of tissue in a point. Some people use a blending stump for that, but I'm aware that not everyone is going to have one of those at home. Then I created a shield for my paper and my hand, so that my hand doesn't drag the pencil marks all over my paper and mess up my work. So I've got a shield there. It's protecting my paper from accidental blending, smearing, and messiness. And it's also protecting my paper from the oils that are on my hands. And now what I'm doing is I'm adding that layer of darker values. So I'm going back and forth with my eyes, looking at the source image and then looking at my drawing. And I am finding those areas that are really dark in my source image, and I'm making them super dark now on my paper. And in order to do that, the more detailed the area is, the closer I'm holding my pencil to the graphite, and I am just darkening. I learned a lot in lesson 2 when I was adding those faint values to map out lights and darks. But now what I'm doing is I'm actually adding darker values to really map out those dark areas. I know where they go now, and so I'm a little more confident. I am continuing to follow the contour of my shape. I am continuing to match the direction of the fur. If there's a wrinkle, I am drawing the wrinkle in the direction of the wrinkle that it is in the source image. If there's a piece of fur, I'm making the lines in the direction of the furs. If there's something that looks rounded in the source image, I'm making my lines rounded. When I'm working in detailed areas, again, I'm holding the pencil close to the graphite, and I am going in and erasing any areas where I accidentally add value where value is not wanted. If I start to work in a bigger area, and I'm going to in just a moment when I get over near the ear and the side of the head, I will move my pencil back, or my hand back on my pencil a little bit, to make slightly broader, fuzzier, less concise strokes with the graphite. I am stopping and thinking occasionally. If I start to get frustrated or I don't know what direction to go next, my best step for myself is to stop and take a break. I'll either walk away from the drawing completely, or I'll grab a snack and kind of just sit and think on it for a minute. If I start to get frustrated or annoyed, I don't want to push through that because I'm not going to enjoy myself then. So the way that I push through it, instead of continuing to work, is I take a break and then I come back to it. And I can usually be more focused, looking at it with fresh eyes. I'm going to like what I see more. And then the areas that don't seem right to me, I'm able to really just go in and fix them without being so annoyed or frustrated with my work. So I had some fruit snacks, had some water, and now I'm feeling better. So again, I'm with those details, holding the pencil close and really, really starting to darken things in. Here I'm using a bit of almost a dabbing motion with my pencil, and what I'm trying to do there is pick up the skin texture of that little monkey's forehead. So I'm almost tapping, trying to reproduce that value in that area in a way that looks like the texture of the animal's skin. And at the very end, you'll see the results. You can see the skin texture looks like dots instead of like smooth lines, because the little monkey's forehead actually is not smooth there at all. It's actually super textural. Nothing a sheet mask wouldn't fix, though. Just kidding, little monkey, you're perfect the way you are. Here, as I make lines, each line that I make, I think of it like a piece of fur. So if the piece of fur is slightly wavy, I make my line slightly wavy. When I go into the ear, I'm actually, because I'm adding shadows and leaving the highlights light, the way the ear is going to start to take form is by just drawing in those shadows and leaving those light outlines there that you see light. If I accidentally blend into those areas, I can go back in with an eraser and lighten them again, so I can keep the highlights nice and light. I'm always keeping my papers angled in the same direction, and I'm always keeping that shield there to protect my work. I'm starting to feel like a finished feeling to my work now, so I'm just taking a look and thinking, and I'm feeling pretty ready to move on now. So here's my finished work, looking at it upside down. I did make a pouty face there by recheck sizes and proportions because I noticed that the ear is too close to the eyes. Finally, I can turn my work right side up, and I can look at my work right side up, and I can kind of see it with a different set of eyes and just say, congratulations, I finished for today. I'll be back for lesson whatever number comes next, 4, and I'm going to finish it up. Thanks for drawing.